and
You're hilarious.
Thank you.
No, you're really funny, by the way. Like last night, I did a little deep dive.
All right, I like it.
Obviously, the friends, the growing up, they knew you were going to be funny because I saw you were voted funniest girl in high school.
Yeah.
Right?
Kicked out of a lot of classes. Yep.
Disruptive?
Oh, yeah.
What was it? Just like you were just anything the teacher said that you had to come back for?
It depended on the teacher. They didn't all elicit respect.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
There were just some teachers that were goofy, and they'd say things with authority, and it just, it didn't work for me. And some were just so easy to do impressions of. They'd roll out of bed. They're in school. I always took seriously getting dressed in the morning, looking nice for school. I'm going to see people. And then I'd have these teachers that look like they haven't bathed in a few days. They're rolling into homeroom in sweatpants,
Wow.
And it's like, come on, what do you expect,
Is that public school?
Oh,
in Great Neck?
Yeah, that's public school.
Okay, because
yeah.
I went to public school. All my teachers looked like that. They smelled like weed. Their hair was a mess.
Exactly.
They were really living their life. But I love that you already had like the rebellious attitude of like, if I'm gonna get dressed for this, you're gonna get dressed for this.
Yeah. I mean, looking back, that's how I felt. I don't know that it was a conscious thing back then, but I just, whatever I would see that just didn't seem right.
Yeah.
I just couldn't take it seriously.
Did you have siblings in the house, or were you?
I did, yeah.
How many?
I have 2 younger brothers.
Okay.
Good boys,
yeah.
totally well behaved.
Well, but 2 good boys?
They're really, yeah.
Didn't harass their sister?
Not at all.
So the comedy wasn't like coming out of the household?
No, in fact, it was very humiliating and embarrassing to my mother, who's like a very proper Great Neck lady.
She's known around Great Neck.
She's like perfect, the makeup, the clothes, and and she just didn't know what to do with me. I'm the firstborn. I was kind of like, I put wild in quotes because she thought I was very wild, but to me, wild would be like, drinking, smoking, sleeping around. I mean, I didn't do anything like that.
No.
I was just mouthy.
You had a mouth on you. Early reader.
Yeah.
Early reader.
I was.
Right?
Wait, how do you know?
I was an early reader,
okay.
and so I always think like maybe I just had words like just ready to go. Like I don't know. I was an early reader, but you struck me just now as like an early reader and somebody that like raised their hand to read out loud in class all the time.
Oh my gosh, I loved the sound of my own voice from an early age. I'm tired of it now, but
right. You've been hearing it a lot lately.
But did you have this? So I learned to read. I was like 2 years old. They thought I was going to be this big prodigy. And
because your reading skills?
Yeah, and in kindergarten they put me in a special, advanced pull out. They'd pull me out of the class. And then I don't know about you, by 2nd grade, everybody caught up. Like everybody caught, and I was no longer in the honors class.
No, you weren't special.
Terrible.
You were just fast.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, no, I know what that is. I was raising my hand all the time.
Yeah.
In class.
And then one day you were just wrong about everything.
One day I actually was slower than the rest of the class. One day I was like, I just stopped.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah, we peaked in 3rd grade.
Totally. Academically, anyway.
Academically. Yeah. Did the idea of comedy, were you from was it a funny family? Was the family funny at all?
I mean, my parents love comedy. So I grew up as a little girl. We went to the Catskills, and I would see. I saw Jackie Mason, Joan Rivers, like from my early childhood.
Wow.
My parents loved going to comedy clubs and seeing, the big time Borscht Belt greats and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But they weren't funny people. They just really loved to laugh.
So they just opened your eyes to comedy.
Yeah, but I never thought stand-up was for me. It's not like I would watch them and be like, oh, I want to be that, you know? We just loved it, and then I was just goofy in the house. I don't know.
So what was it? Was there an epiphany one day where you're like, you know what? Regular life's not that cool. I'm going to go try stand-up.
Sort of. It was a journey. I mean, it was a journey. I always did the plays in middle school, high school, and I'd always get a funny character, like a character type role, and then I would turn it into a funny character, even if it wasn't. And then eventually I started getting cast in comedies, and then by the time I got to college, the big thing was comedy troupes, when I was in school.
Improv troops.
Actually, I didn't like improv. I like sketch comedy, all scripted.
Got it.
So I ended up working my way up in that, and I was the director of this all-female comedy troupe at the University of Pennsylvania, where I ended up going to school.
Oh, so you actually were smart. Yeah.
Yes and no. I don't. My grades.
Penn?
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone I hear from Penn is like running the world.
Now,
They like run the world out of there.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it was more. I was doing creative. I think I got in based on special needs. No.
They let you slide. They needed funny at Penn.
They needed, and you know what? If that was it, their investment in me really paid off, because this female comedy troupe was about to crash and burn. I resurrected it, and today, I mean, Vanessa Bayer came out of there a few years later, and she doesn't even know me. I always think some of these girls should know there was going to be no bloomer. I mean, I didn't pave the way, but I saved the troupe.
Yeah. That's amazing.
It is.
Vanessa, when you see this, give Talia a shout out. You know what I mean?
Give me some love, girl. I love you.
Yeah.
I know. It's crazy.
So when you say the troupe was going down, what, it was just like nobody cared anymore?
No one cared.
And you came in with just a notepad.
Yeah, like it was very top heavy in the sense, like I was a freshman and all the talent were seniors.
Okay.
They were all graduating. And then I was the youngest person that they ever let lead the troupe. It was always the seniors had to be in charge. And then I came, as a sophomore, they voted me as assistant director. And then junior year, I got to be director. It was a big deal. It was a big deal.
That's a great experience.
It was amazing.
I mean, you could basically direct a movie if you could direct an improv troupe.
Yeah. And I wrote all them. Director really meant head writer, too, because I wrote every sketch. Yeah. I would always have a co-writer, but yeah.
Were they auditioning back then, like to be in the troupe?
Yes,
like,
and I made a lot of enemies. I was so stupid back then. I would encourage all my friends that were funny and would make me laugh. I'm like, you got to audition. And
then you didn't hire them.
They were terrible. They're just funny when you hang out.
It's a whole different animal.
Right?
You could be I got some of the funniest hangout people from Detroit that I grew up with. Some of my friends are the funniest people I've ever met.
Yeah.
But put them on a stage? No. Give them a script? No. So, but it's also about, how do you let them just be that funny person and maybe kind of incorporate them into that sketch?
Okay, well,
looking back,
one of them I did. She had a terrible audition, but I'm like, she's in my sorority.
Yeah.
Everyone knew her as the clown, and she was a good roaster.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, we're letting Lauren in. She's coming in. And so I would write around her. I did that, and she's still
tight. Yeah.
She was a little like nervous or whatever it was, and then she quit. She quit, and I was fine with that. But it just then the vibe between us was just weird after that.
For years after.
You just
we're
not friends
anymore. A friend.
Yeah, I lost a friend, and
isn't it crazy how one little thing, like one moment in a friendship, it could just be like a one moment thing.
Yeah.
And it can kind of affect like the rest of the friendship.
Wait a sec, guys too though, really?
Well, I had that. Yeah, like I had a friend that was like a good friend of mine. And he like said one really foul thing about one of my parents at one moment. Whoa. And like it changed the dynamic. Well, my parent had passed away. So like he said something foul.
Fair game then.
He said something foul right around like the funeral time. I couldn't let it go. And then like 20 years later, he's like, hey, why do you think we ever, and I was like, listen, bro, it was my dad's funeral. You could have waited on that comment.
Oh,
but
man.
Wow. Point being, you can have a moment that changes the whole trajectory of a friendship.
That's true. That's
even as little as cutting your friend out of your improv.
I know, but she wasn't the only. I mean, there were a few others. I learned really not to mix friendship and
business
and comedy. Yeah.
Oh, I'm the king of getting bit by mixing friendship and business.
Really?
I mean, just like it's bit me a few times. Bit me a few times.
You mean somebody who wasn't already in the business that you try to bring them in?
Yeah, well, yeah. I've directed a couple movies and I've hired a couple friends.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because they were funny, like you said, funny friend.
Right.
And then, you know what I mean? 46 takes later,
oh,
you're burning
God.
camera and you're burning money.
And you're yelling
and
at
I'm
them.
going, dude, I'll never speak to you again. Cut every, you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
So it's business and friendship And I forgot. I feel like there's like some German term that's like sometimes it works. Sometimes it's a blessing to like work with your friends.
Okay. I just know
But-
Schadenfreude, and that's not what you're saying.
Is that it? No, that might be it. No.
I don't think so.
I mean, I'm Jewish. I grew up Jewish, but like I had a
Okay.
German friend on my hockey team, and he used to always talk about like this term that was a blessing if you could work with your friends. And I'm like, I don't think the Jews. I don't think we think that. I don't think that's in our realm. I mean, I don't know. It's nice to work with your friends if it works.
Yeah.
It's nice when you work with someone and you become friends. But yes, hiring a friend or family could get tricky.
But as you can imagine, too, at the University of Pennsylvania, there weren't a bunch of funny chicks walking around,
No.
or guys either. I mean, it was slim pickings, so you had to mold people.
Yeah. By the way, I so respect that you went to. I mean, I went to Arizona. You went to
Oh.
a school where it's like you get there and you're book ready, right? Like
Yeah.
like is everybody just like excited to read?
Yeah,
Like what is
yes.
that like? Like
I'll tell you what it's like.
education.
I pretty much got A's through high school.
Yeah.
But what I don't know if they still do this. They used to give you an attitude grade. Did you have that?
No.
You'd get an A and then an S for satisfactory. And it was like O, S, or U, outstanding, satisfactory, or unsatisfactory behavior.
Maybe we had that. That
Yeah, like
feels like
B-
middle school.
Yeah, no, it went all, but I remember one quarter, I got all AUs across the board, and I was so proud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had a good attitude and you did well.
No, I'm unsatisfactory.
The
Yeah.
U was unsatisfactory. They didn't know what to do with you.
No, I had AUs all across. I wish I saved that report card. I'd frame it now.
Did you develop good, like being in that school, did you develop like serious discipline
Oh, at Penn?
habits that paid off later?
Actually,
in
the
your stand-up?
opposite. What happened?
Wow.
Well, yeah, no, not at Penn. I'll tell you what happened. I was so spoiled from getting easy A's in public school.
Yeah.
And then I remember I took Psych 101, which it's
I
psych.
took Psych 101.
Yeah, like it's not
Yeah.
supposed to be hard.
No, I loved it.
It's a bullshit class.
Yeah.
I mean,
psychology. We're doing it now.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, please, Pavlov's dog is the most basic.
Please.
Oh, it's Pavlov. If you give someone cheese, if you snap your finger and get cheese every time you eat cheese,
Snap
next time
all
you
day.
it's like next time you get a piece of cheese, you expect to hear a snap. Oh wow, what a genius! Whoever thought
yeah.
of that. It's all basic observations.
Super basic.
But it was the first B I ever got.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was, I could, like the other kids, I guess I'm like, oh my God, for Penn, I'm dumb. I can't believe
Wow,
it.
you would have thought, you know what I mean, going into this, you would know people better. But you
No.
got a B in psych?
God, it's like 101.
That might have been the only class I got in AA. Psych 101, I actually
Yeah.
remember that.
And I studied really hard. And I think I sort of mentally checked out after that.
For sure.
I was all about the comedy troupe. And then I majored in music. So I really only cared about my music classes. After
What's
that.
your instrument? You play multiple?
Piano, keyboard.
That's so great.
Yeah, I love it.
I pretend I can play piano. Like I sit at the piano.
Okay.
I'm musical. Like I play guitar, but I've never
Okay.
taken piano. But just,
Oh.
you know, I sit there and I feel like if you pretend you can play, every now and then you like something sounds okay.
The
like
law of
the law of-
chance or whatever.
Yeah, it's the law of chance. But I played the piano at my buddy's place. He has a piano. He comes downstairs. He's like, "Bro, you could play piano?" I'm like, "No, I lucked out on these
sitting
on these few chords." But it's funny because I think comedy is musical, obviously, right? You find
Yeah.
a rhythm in your speech.
Yes, you have
Right,
to have
there's
a
a-
good ear for it.
There's a real musicality
I never thought of it that
to
way.
comedy. What's the name of that old time comedian who played piano, who's the legend? Borges? I want to say Borges. Like, does that ring a bell? He was a Catskill guy.
Really? Oh,
He
I
was
gotta
like
look
the
it up.
funniest. He was the funniest piano playing comedian. It's something Borges. You don't know him?
I gotta look this up.
Look
no,
him
I
up.
love that. I love the old school musical
Yeah.
comedians. I don't know of any new ones that are really.
Luke Null. Do you know who that is?
I don't.
Luke was on SNL for a year.
Okay.
He just did my movie Stealing Jokes. He plays guitar, which, you know, a lot of people look down.
Yeah,
A lot of people look down on
I
it.
don't.
But if you do it well,
Yeah.
like if you do it really well, he does it really well.
Okay.
And so he kills it on the guitar, on the musical comedy. So some people, if you Saget, Bob Saget, rest in peace. Bob, I toured with Bob for 10 years.
Oh yeah.
He closed out every show with guitar.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, and so he really was into the guitar comedy.
That's hilarious.
But he did it well. He wrote some
Okay.
hilarious songs.
And Sarah Silverman would
Yeah.
stuff too. Yeah.
Because I feel like comedians secretly we wanna
wanna be
get our
rock
music
stars.
game on.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? Like I even had like a guitar on stage that I didn't play, just in case you thought I was gonna play.
Oh, that's
like I might play.
You're funny.
I don't have the confidence to like really play for a crowd, but every now and then, like I've had Luke like open for me.
Okay.
And I've taken his guitar, from him right away, and
Yeah.
then like kind of strummed nervously and done a few things, just like improv'd a few things.
Really?
But I think comedy and music go hand in hand. And I even like in New York got to meet this band Red Clay Stray. Have you heard of them?
Not sure.
They're blowing up big. They were on Kimmel
Okay.
like a week ago.
Oh,
They're
cool.
cool, but they're fanatical about comedy.
Really?
And I see a lot of like musicians are way into comedy.
Wow. You always want that thing that seems unattainable, but maybe it's a little attainable.
Well, people look down. I think the fact that people would look down on music in comedy messes with your brain. Like if you play piano,
Yeah.
do you do music in your comedy at all ever?
Not on stage, I haven't. I've done it on my social media. I'll do these little songs or little characters that are improvising and singing.
Yeah.
And I keep meaning to bring it into the comedy. But it's a lot harder to lug a piano around than a guitar. So I just haven't done it, but it's something I do plan on getting around to.
I think you should do it.
Yeah?
Yeah. If you have
Okay.
piano skills and you're already hilarious, I would tune out any noise of anybody that's like, no, it's an easy way to get joke. I'm over that whole thing.
Okay.
Entertainment's entertainment.
Yeah.
I would say by the way, you could just bring a keyboard. Just
I
bring a
know,
little-
but
you
I
don't
need
to
a
bring
full
the piano.
88. I need an 88 key. I don't like the little ones where I'm like, oh, I
Yeah.
can't.
What does Craig Robinson use? He must have an 88 key. He comes out there with
They
the
make
full
lightweight
keyboard.
ones now. I really should look into it. Yeah.
Costco, $89.
Stop it.
I've seen some 88 keys for
Casio.
I've seen the Casio.
I got a weighted Casio at home.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I have a real piano, but the Casio I use at night after the family goes to sleep.
Uh-huh.
So I put on my headphones and I still get yelled at because they just hear the.
Right. Or the hands you're heavy-handed.
Yeah, I'm heavy-handed.
Yeah.
I am. Yeah.
Are the kids musical?
No, I mean, I think I was too Tiger Mom over the piano. I turned them off to it, I think.
Really?
Yeah, they just didn't. And I had probably the wrong teacher. She wasn't fun. I really screwed up.
The wrong teacher for the
For
kids?
the kids, yeah. I couldn't find anyone. She was like this very serious Asian lady, drill sergeant. And, you really have to learn scales in the beginning before you can get to fun pieces. And
So that's
the
real. You have to practice the
you
scales.
just have to. There's no way.
There's no getting around it.
No. Scales,
I've shortcutted
fingering
every instrument
chords.
they ever handed me. That's why I never got good.
That's why my kids, they hated it. They're like, why do I have to do this? I'm like, this is a gift.
Yeah.
This is a joy.
Yeah.
Just didn't.
Yeah. That didn't convey joy.
No, it
Your
never.
words and your emotions were not connected.
But I'll tell you, they have no regrets. I mean, they're still kids, but they don't wish. One of my daughters can sing. Has a very nice voice. She's in the chorus.
Okay.
But I'm like, dude, if I knew that, I wouldn't have bought a baby grand. Yay, you can sing. Like,
It's not over, by the way. How old are the kids?
they're young teens.
Yeah, so it's the
Yeah, it's
musical
over.
love is never over.
It's over on my dime.
It's over on your end, right?
Yeah.
You're done paying.
Done. I'm
Right.
done. Now we're paying for other things like electrolysis. And,
Right.
That's the
teenagers.
new piano lesson. Yeah.
You said 2 girls?
2 girls. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. What about you?
Public school?
One in public school, and I have one in Jewish day school, actually.
You just
Yeah.
decided, this kid needs a stricter upbringing.
No, I fought against it. No. So my husband became very religious.
In the middle of the marriage?
Um,
Just woke up one day like, you know what? We need religion in our life.
we needed that does happen.
Are you kidding? The pandemic had me reading the Torah.
Oh my
I was
God.
bar mitzvahed. I didn't know a single word that I was saying. All they taught you was your Hebrew.
Right.
I didn't know what I was saying.
Yes.
I was just saying.
I grew up the same way.
So at the end of it, I was like, what did I just say to everybody?
And then during the pandemic, you had all this time. And you're
I had
like,
all this time.
see what I said.
Life
when
could
I
be
was
over.
13.
I was like, you know what? Let me get a little let me see what I'm about.
I love that.
Yeah, because my family was, my dad a little more religious. My mom respected the religion, but nothing heavy. But their
Okay.
parents, the further back you went, the more religious my family was.
Right. Okay.
Right? Like they escaped the Holocaust.
Oh,
Great grandpa got out.
same.
He was dedicated to the religion. Grandpa under him had everybody over for all the holidays.
Yeah, yeah.
So we always like respected the holidays and kind of like loved what we were. But really, I was thrown out of Hebrew school.
Oh, well, if you're going to have an attitude, that's.
I might have been the first kid choked by a cantor.
Stop
I was a
it.
very
Okay.
rough,
I got to hear
disruptive kid. Well,
this.
no.
The mean Jewish streets of Detroit, huh?
Listen, Detroit was rough, but like, at least where I grew up, you went to like your regular public school, but then Hebrew school was after school. I didn't go to like a Jewish school.
Okay.
So we had public school, so then for Hebrew school, you had to just go to another school.
Oh, I had
for
that.
like 3 hours.
It was a temple, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'd go, so you're already tired of school.
Right.
Then we
And
go
at
to
4
another
o'clock,
school.
Yeah.
And so we went to our Hebrew school. I never even told this story, but we went to our Hebrew school, and it was like set in sort of like a white trash neighborhood that didn't like Jews.
Okay.
We were set in like a crazy, like a rednecky town.
Oh, wow.
Because it was the Hebrew school was like in an elementary school that was a public school that became the Hebrew school for that
wow.
moment.
Okay.
So one day there was like 8 white boys that just like came to fight all the Jewish kids
Oh, no.
at our school, and it was like OG bullying.
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, me and my brother were like raw, we were like a scrappy Jewish kid. We were scrappy. So the kids, they tried to come through like the window of the class,
Right.
and I launched a chair and started a melee.
Oh, wow. Oh, my
So
God.
I was thinking I was like defending my brothers and sisters and my Jewish brother, but
Thieves.
but the cantors and they were not happy with me at all. So they threw me out of that school.
Oh,
So
wow.
I went right to private. I went right to tutor
Oh,
to
okay.
finish it off. So I got the tutor.
Oh, that's
and then had my bar mitzvah.
So you had the real McCoy.
I had the real yeah.
bar mitzvah.
I had the real McCoy.
I like it.
But the point being, I didn't know what I was talking about up there.
You didn't
So-
give a speech?
Yeah,
Like
I gave a speech, but like
okay.
I was so nervous. I was more worried about was my dad gonna know his part? You know what I mean? Like we weren't like he didn't go to college.
Right.
He was a street guy. Like, is
Okay.
my dad gonna get even the phonetic part of this Hebrew down?
Okay.
So,
wow.
but we got through it.
Okay.
And yeah, during the pandemic, I started kind of reading the
You
Torah a
started
little
doing
more.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, my husband was religious when I married him, but I feel like it got more. And then I try to, I don't drive on the Sabbath. Like I
Okay.
try to, I do Friday night dinners, and my daughter is in yeshiva. And so I got it. I talk about it a lot
Yeah.
in my comedy. I just wrote a new bit last night I'm pretty excited about, actually.
When you write
Yeah.
a new bit,
Yeah.
is it literally sit down at the computer? Are you computer? Or are you pen to paper?
I'm usually in the shower.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
That's where it hits you.
And then I say to myself, as soon as I get out, I'm going to write this down. And I'd say half of the time I do, and half of the time I forget.
Uh-huh.
But then it always comes back. If it was something worth remembering, it usually comes back. And then sometimes I don't even write it. I'll just try it out on stage that night.
Yeah.
And then I'll have a recording of it, and then I'll write it until I go pen to paper.
Yeah.
It's like ridiculous.
I feel like pen to paper, for me at least, is like a more emotional connection
Okay.
than even the computer.
Oh,
Like there's some sort of weird thing for me. 'Cause
Really?
I don't know, I used to be like a hard pen writer.
Oh.
Like I would go hard at the pad and like really feel it. And I mean, everyone's got their different
I have the
technique of
MacBook
writing.
like right in my face. I'm like,
Yeah, you're right there.
yeah, I'm right there.
Yeah. So when you write a new bit, are you like
Yeah.
flushing it out from beginning to end, or you'll try one new joke that's just a one punch,
So
or are you trying to flush the whole bit?
sometimes it's a one-liner, like
Yeah.
or like two-liner with a punch, and then I try to figure out how to build it in. I'm more trying to figure out where to place it within my set. But if it's a bit like what came to me yesterday in the
Yeah.
shower, I have it's a story with a bunch of beats. So this one I'm writing down because it had beats that I think a bunch of them will hit. But if
Yeah.
it's more of like a story, I'll go and try it out on stage and then try to figure out where the beats are.
Uh-huh.
So it kind of depends.
Was your natural style, storytelling style, or were you joke writer in the beginning, or?
That's
I mean,
a good question.
Did you stick with your natural style of comedy?
I think setup punch is definitely my style.
Uh-huh.
But what I learned was you need to have a story to be a good stand-up, or not. I mean, there's no rules really, as you know.
Yeah. There's no rules.
But I felt
Just be
like
funny is the rule.
just be funny. So I just think some of it's formulaic, and then some of it is like, well, I want to say who I am a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'll tell this story, and then, certain things. If there's beats there, there's how it's like punchlines embedded within. I always think of it like coding, right?
Pen.
Yeah.
Went to pen. Think of it as coding.
Like there's
not coding.
punchlines embedded within the
Story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't know that you're planning for those laughs to come.
Right. No, they don't know.
But you're
It's a
counting
trick.
on it.
For
It's
sure.
a trick. It's we're right. If we're magicians, those are the trick. The misdirect. But I love misdirections. That's probably my favorite.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your gut instinct at this point is like good enough to know that like when it's funny in your head, it's gonna connect? Like, are you pretty?
Yeah.
is your average good on that?
I have a higher average than I used to, for sure.
Yeah.
But sometimes, you ever have like beginner's luck with a joke? There's something
Absolutely.
you think is so hilarious, and then you say it once and it kills, and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then the next 10 times you do it, you get nothing.
Absolutely.
What is that?
It could be you're in a different city. It could be you're in front of a different audience. It could be you didn't hit the same like emotional note.
Right.
Like
You're right. Yeah.
Like you're kind of like you're like an emotion, not an emotional comedian, but like you got emotional energy. You're telling real stories. You're kind of connected that way. And I feel like, I don't know, there's almost like an acting aspect to that. Like if I'm not connected to my bit emotionally, it doesn't fly.
It's really well said. Yeah.
I have to be, for my style, I have to be like emotionally vested. And some nights you're just not feeling it like other nights.
Because maybe the audience isn't.
Well, it's just your own personal, whatever you had, that day could have been crazy, and you might just come to the stage.
The energy isn't there for you.
Yeah, like sometimes you just gotta reconnect.
Yeah.
Whether it's whatever your technique is. Like I'll do a couple breathing techniques just to get grounded and like get back in my emotion. But I think the audience can feel when it's more personal, they go with you more. Does that make sense? Like when you're more personal and you're connected to your stuff, they're more with you.
That's true.
Right? Like I've heard that multiple times. Like the more personal, the more universal it becomes.
Right. Instead of just being all in your head.
Yeah.
Being like, this is what I want to say. Instead of just going in there with like your agenda.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Just get emotionally connected and let it fly from there. But like I said, everyone's got different styles. That's the cool thing about comedy.
It's true.
Some comedians are so awesome with their wacky, weird style. Some comedians can pull off physical comedy that others could never do.
Right.
Like I always said that like about like Jim Carrey, right? Like Jim Carrey was like a genius physical comic, where for years, I came from the Comedy Store in LA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and for years you'd see like dudes trying to be physical comics.
Yeah.
It just let you know that like the Jim Carreys and the Steve Martins of the world had like an extra genius to them.
Or Sebastian Maniscalco.
Sebastian.
Yeah.
Great example.
Yeah.
By the way, I came up with Sebastian.
Really?
So I was rocking with Sebastian when he wasn't physical.
Really?
I watched his transition into real physicality over the years.
I always wondered about that with him because I've heard that before. Was it sort of he would do a couple of bits where he had act outs and he saw that those were hitting, so then he just sort of ran with it? Is that what I mean?
If I had to guess,
have been what happened.
And I toured with him, and he's my boy.
Wow.
If I had to guess, because he and I never had this conversation, but he did the bit about the three-legged dog back in the day.
Okay.
And he did it on Oprah, and he did it, and he got so physical, and he played the dog, and he popped up as the dog, and it killed so hard, like harder than anything I had seen him do kind of up to that point. And if I had to guess, because he's so smart, if I had to guess, he realized, when I get physical, because he loves dancing. He actually is like a physical
he's very
dude.
natural. It doesn't look like he's,
No.
working so hard. Oh, I gotta go like this.
Yeah.
And then, he's just
Nobody knows.
sorta-
He was like an athlete. He played soccer. Like
Oh,
Sebastian
okay.
secretly is physical.
Okay.
But he went through a non-physical comedy thing, and then when he hit that dog bit, and he did the dog, and
Found
it hit
the
so
vessel.
crazy, he found the vessel.
Wow.
And I think it connected at that moment, and he was like, "Yo, I'm going physical from now on."
I'm going hard there.
So he goes,
Very interesting.
"Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he's fun." I had a good class that I came up with.
Yeah.
Sebastian, Brett Ernst, Bobby Lee.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Butch Bradley, like Ian
Oh.
Edwards. I had a
Yeah,
good.
sure.
We had a cool, fun class at the Comedy Store.
Wow.
Yeah.
So cool.
Did you have a club that you regulared more
Yeah.
than anyone other club?
My first club was I did late night at the Strip.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I got in. So I've been doing. So this is now January 2025. This is 10 years for me.
Okay.
I mean,
You know that's not long.
I
right?
know. Actually, 2013.
But you find a groove at 10.
Yeah, I think so. I guess 2013 I started. I did a bunch of open mics that year. I took one of those classes.
Yeah.
I put in quotes.
I took a class.
Okay. I mean, I went like twice, and then I just wanted to do the graduation show. So that was it.
Okay. I didn't
Yeah.
even graduate.
You didn't get
took-
kicked out, though.
No, but I had no, I didn't get kicked out, but the teacher said one thing that was so poignant,
Oh,
I
yeah?
never went back.
Oh.
I was like, that's all I needed to hear.
What was it?
Just drop this was Mark Lanow was his name. He was co-owner of the Improv in LA.
Okay.
And oddly enough, crazy random fact that nobody knows, he was Michael Rappaport's stepdad. Like Rappaport doesn't
random.
even talk about it.
Wow.
But he was his stepdad. And he had said, drop yourself in the middle of all your bits and just make them all personal and be an expert on everything you're talking about. Even if you're not, just act like you're an expert. And that
Okay.
like kind of hit me. I was like, yo, I'm just going to be a personal storytelling expert. And I never went back. I just didn't feel
Love
like
that.
paying.
Yeah.
I was like, that's all I need
Yeah.
to get out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got what I
Same here.
needed.
I got the list of open mics in the area.
Yeah.
And because I was really on my own schedule at that time. So my kids were babies, and so I could only go out like after 8 o'clock. So I needed to know all the open mics after 8
Yeah.
in like Queens, New York City. There's nothing on Long Island. I never really did comedy on Long Island until I started getting booked for stuff.
You went all
But
city.
I was all city. Yeah. So I passed late night at the Strip, and then, I met just such cool comics. I mean, I didn't
Yeah.
come up with, they were all, but like Lenny Marcus was always there.
Yeah.
Brian Scott McFadden, who I like.
Yep.
He's really funny.
He's hilarious.
I always love watching
him.
him. And it's so funny, these guys that I'd watch doing late night, and now we're friends.
Yeah.
You know?
That's
And
great.
so many more. But yeah,
She gave me the wrap up. But we got a
Yeah.
few more minutes. I'm good on time.
make sure
I know.
my kids aren't calling me from the car.
Are you picking the kids up today?
No,
they're driving.
I was going to bring them in the studio. Oh, good, they haven't. But I couldn't get any parking, and I knew this was quick, so I didn't want to drop it in. I promise they don't have school.
They're in a
this week.
coffee shop down the street.
They're
Basically.
no, they're
They're at the
waiting
Fresh
in the car.
Market.
I stuck my 15-year-old in the driver's seat, and I left the car on and the what do you call it?
Hazards.
So in one of those commercial loading zones.
Yeah.
Because I notice a lot of people do that. They just leave their hazard.
Of course.
But I left the motor on with the kid in the driver's
Yeah,
seat.
she's not getting a ticket.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's good.
Oh, she's okay.
A cop's gonna walk up, say, "Hey, you got to move your car." She's gonna go, "My mom's in the studio. Give me a minute."
I told her
and
to
then
say
she'll be fine.
she's gonna flip out. My kids, they're
15.
they're such suburban. Like this is the most hood thing they've ever done. Is this?
Mom is bringing them up in the hood of Midtown Manhattan.
I know exactly.
Well, do you have anything you want to plug? You got any shows coming up? Because this will go out, probably in the next day and a half, 2 days.
Awesome. Oh, okay. Amazing. I have a couple of sold out things, so I'm not gonna plug those.
It always feels good to not have to
I
plug.
love it. I love
Yeah.
it. Yeah. March 15th, I'm headlining Rodney Dangerfield's, the new Rodney's.
Where is that?
Saturday night. That's on 61st and 1st.
Okay.
If you're coming from Jersey or Long Island, there's no congestion toll over there.
Save your money on the drive.
Save your-
Come see Talia.
Upper East Siders, come back. We've had a couple of sold out fun.
Yeah.
I call it my kosher style show.
One more question about this. So like
Yeah.
your audience is finding you right now, right? They're finding you.
That's how it seems. Yeah.
And is there like a lot of marketing that had to go in on your end, or was it sort of organically happening and then you started marketing to whoever your audience is?
That's exactly what happened. Because like we're talking about,
Yeah.
I started out at the Strip. I was working Greenwich Village a lot, clubs. And then because of my whole, Jewish thing with my husband being really religious and us joining the Orthodox synagogue, the Jews found me.
They found you.
They found me.
They were looking for you.
And they said, well, what happened? I was working with, a bunch of non-Jews on Long Island. I hate to say non-Jews.
Yeah.
Like, they're not part of it. But I was having a blast doing, like, these theaters out there. And then this guy, Paul Anthony, who's this guy who booked me a lot on Long Island. A synagogue guy called him. And he said, hey, why don't you try Talia Reese? She's a nice Jewish girl, does a lot of shows with me.
Yeah.
And so the synagogue called me, and they were like, this guy recommended you for our synagogue. And, you remember, your father, we know your father. Like, it was at my synagogue.
Wow.
Yeah. And he's like, no one knew. I didn't want anyone to know I was even doing comedy. I wasn't doing clean comedy necessarily.
Right.
So then I just said, I don't think I'm a good fit for this.
Really?
Yeah. I turned it down. And then he said, well, the event's not for 6 months. Why don't you just try writing 10 minutes? He's like, come on, this is your life. These are your people,
Wow.
So I did. Once, like you said, once I did like pen to paper, I just kept writing and writing and like, I have to do this and then my frustrations and all that. And then it was like so easy, it just come up with stuff about all this keeping kosher and going to the mikvah, which is won't even go there. But
you found your voice.
I found my voice, and I had a blast.
That's awesome.
And then that sort of I put a little clip from there on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then believe it or not, from that I booked a bunch of other temples, synagogue dinners, and then I realized, well, if I could get to an hour of material, then I could,
headline and call it a day.
And it was great because my husband loves it.
Yeah.
And then it was a way to, now I'm actually making some money.
Yeah.
So there's no one's pressuring me to get a real job anymore.
No pressure.
Yeah.
Working mom out of the house.
Out of the house. Weird hours. But
strange hours, but good for you.
Yeah. So I just stuck with that. But then, because I love working the clubs and I love being a regular person too.
Yeah.
So I started to like incorporate the two as much as I can.
Of course.
So then I would do like these headlining nights to just see whoever wants to come.
Yeah.
So it would be like a mix of the kind of stuff you might hear at a Jewish event.
Yeah.
But
also like, getting real with real life stuff.
Real life stuff. Yeah, I mean, and with my own, little sexual stuff I'm not going to talk about over there.
Yeah.
So that, I think in that sense, that's where I'm really finding it now.
Yeah, you got a good blend.
It's a blend.
Yeah, it's a blend.
Yeah.
Well, go see Talia Reese do her blended comedy. If you're Jewish, come through. If you're not, come through.
Thank you.
Right?
Yes.
It was great to meet you.
You too.
I'm sure I'll see you in the clubs around here.
I love that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, great to meet you. Where can they find you, Zara?
Oh, please. I have a website, taliareese.com. Reese, like Reese's peanut butter. Talia, Talia Reese, but at Talia Reese Comic on Instagram. I post clips a few times a week, and we have fun.
Cool.
And YouTube at Talia Reese Comic.
Thanks, Talia.
Thank you so much.
Rock Comedy Tour podcast live from Zine. We out.